You'll never guess what happened. My friend Buzz saw a trap. Fresh and Buds now.
Fresh and
All right, folks, welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh and Buds. I'm your host, Tommy Fresh, and you are all my buds. And today, I'm happy to welcome Mr. Jesse Harper, a.k.a. the Orc Knight. What is going on, Jesse? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Tommy. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time because my lurking brother in arms here, another Riptide player. If you're watching the video, you could see it's even in his background. Riptide's hanging out behind him. Just had a nice finish at the PQ. By nice finish, I mean you won. You won your pro quest with Riptide.
Yeah, I was fortunate.
Yeah. It's a little bit nicer than just nice. So we want to talk about that, and we're going to get into kind of Riptide and the future of Riptide and what it all means. But before that, we do have to get to know Jesse, the person first, the man behind the Orc Knight, and I want to talk about your TCG backstory and where it all began for you, because I have a feeling you didn't play, or you did play other games before this.
So my TCG backstory is probably pretty familiar for a lot of people, where you were introduced to a game of some kind, whether that be Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, at a really young age. You have no idea what the rules are, but you're playing because it's like an older sibling or a friend, or there's a TV show that's pushing you through. And I kind of got all of it, like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, all of it. Like case in point, like I still have like a foil Thorn Elemental from I think like 7th or 8th edition of Magic. It's just like super water damage, super busted up, like not playable anymore, but it's from my childhood, so I keep the card and I throw it in a deck whenever I get the inclination to play. But I didn't really start playing like competitive TCGs until I was like in high school, where a friend of mine finally convinced me to go to like an FNM.
Mm-hmm.
So Magic was my main game of choice for many years. It's like 16 years at this point. And I kept playing Magic my entire time while I was active duty in the Navy, and then I even managed to top 8 Star City Games Open Series event in Portland in 2014 or 15.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, so you've clearly been good at card games for quite a long time. Now, I got to ask you, because funny enough, when I was in high school, I talked to my culinary teacher. It took like it wasn't home ec because we just cooked. We didn't do anything else, but it was just cooking. And she knew that I played Magic, and she's like, my son plays Magic. He's in the Navy, and and my one buddy who played Magic with me was going into the Navy too. I'm like, I heard people are playing Magic in the military. How, like, is that as common as my cooking teacher from South Hunterdon in high school made it out to be?
It's a lot more common than you think.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if maybe 30 to 40% of the Navy or the active duty military in general probably has some sort of hobby like this, like TCGs or D&D or some sort of tabletop game. A little anecdote from me: when I was out in the desert, I think my 3rd or 4th time, it's kind of hard to keep track sometimes, we actually took water pallets and made 4 corners and just kind of made a makeshift table out of them, and then we took the doors off of our closets in our rooms and made a little D&D table, and we had a whole D&D campaign while we were out in the desert when we didn't have flights or missions to do.
That's pretty cool. I mean, listen, I mean, it is pretty interesting. I guess maybe because like the tabletop stuff, I'm guessing is just naturally more accessible when not a lot of things are accessible. and that's pretty cool. Now, you played Magic for quite some time. You know, you mentioned Thorn Elemental. From my memory, Thorn Elemental is also a green guy.
Oh yeah.
Have you always been a green guy fan?
I don't know if it's necessarily a green guy fan, but I do like the big stompy power fantasy that green's color identity used to give you.
Mm-hmm.
Things are a little more muddled in today's day and age for Magic, but I still, you know, nothing better than casting a 10/10 for 10 mana with some crazy keywords on it and just like punching somebody in the face with it, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, funny enough, in Riptide, and we'll talk about it a little bit, you know, when you're throwing those buffs on the arrows, it's like you're just adding keywords to a big attack, which is pretty cool. Now, when did Fab get into the mix for you?
All right. So Fab started for me. I had just moved down to NAS Lemoore in Lemoore, California. And there was a LGS out there in the next town over called Command Zone Games and Hobbies. I walked in one day, started playing Commander at the store. I got pretty friendly with the employees there. Alex, Ron, Justin, Brian. They're all great guys. And Alex comes up to us one day and is like, hey, we're going to, start carrying this game called Flesh and Blood. It's coming out of New Zealand. It's supposed to be the next big TCG. We're like, okay, well, we'll give it a whirl. Most of us are pretty set in our ways. Magic's the only game for us. The typical, I don't want to play any game. Is not Magic. But at this particular time, Commander was like starting to be the main way that everybody engaged with the game. So for me, the competitive side of things had died down, and that was something that I was really looking for. So Alex gets all the cards in. We have Monarch Blitz decks as like our first introduction, because that's the product that was the most readily available for us at the time.
Classic.
And he sits down, myself, Brian, and one of the other employees at the time, Kenny. And he says, we're going to play UPF.
Oh, boy.
Because in Alex's mind, since I was playing Commander, UPF would be the best format to introduce us to, because it's multiplayer. It seems like it's the most like Commander, this, that, the other thing. And let me tell you, I almost did not play Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, understandably.
No offense to people who like that format, but it just like wasn't for me. I didn't like the not being able to engage across the table thing. Turn cycles were weird. If anybody decided to break like the natural rotation of like the attacking and blocking, it just like got really bad. And so everybody was kind of like, thanks, but maybe we'll pass. And then Brian comes up to me and he's like, hey man, I think this game's supposed to be played 1v1. I was like, that would make so much more sense. Because there's no way this is the next big TCG if UPF is the format they're shipping. Like if they're trying to compete with Commander with UPF, like that's just not not the move. So we sit down and I'm playing the Levia Blitz deck. Yeah, I know you love that one.
Big stomp.
Yep. And he sits down with Prism.
That was so unbalanced.
And we start playing. We start getting the hang of things. We do not know how Spectre works at this point in our Flesh and Blood careers. We think that like if I have go again, I kill your Spectre thing, it's like all hunky dory, man. Like it doesn't matter. I get my action point back, and we're off to the races. And the 1v1 format we like really, really enjoyed. So we started going all in on it. He immediately built full power Prism. I started looking at heroes. I built at the time, because this is before Tails, Viscerai.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
That
this
is.
is like the full stack Mavrian Skies Skeleta, no good Runeblade cards to really speak of, just trying to Sonata people to death.
Yeah.
And then from there, I just kind of fell in love with the game, and since then, LSS has just continued to put out hit after hit, always a good set after good set. Even when people might be a little negative on it, people are still playing the game for a reason. So
Yeah, I mean, listen, you kind of hit a good point there about, hit after hit, some not obvious hits, right? Like bright lights, even it seems like they are like, you even like bright lights, or they're a little wary about it. But you look at it; those three heroes are beloved, right?
yeah,
And people love playing them in constructed. But a lot of mech in one set was a bit much. But hey, what are you gonna do? But that's an awesome story. I totally understand the UPF, and especially with the pre-con blitz decks. I don't know,
it was really
yeah, because I think UPF has the potential to be a pretty great format, but even those blitz decks, where it's a miracle that half of us are even still playing that got in with those blitz decks, But we saw the vision. That was enough. We saw the vision, which is pretty sweet. Now, I want to know, you've been playing just as long as me, right? You've traveled. You've done some really cool stuff. You've won some stuff. What are some of your fondest memories from your time playing the game so far?
Oh man, so I've got two stories that I want to tell. The first one is we're still me and Brian. We're like best friends now. And we started testing because we wanted to go to the calling in Vegas, the first one that was going to be in the United States, and we were super excited about it. And he was like playing Prism, he was like looking at trying to do all these optimizations, and I was so tired of getting my butt kicked on what was Viscerai at the time that I went through the hero list, scrolled through all the mechanics, read all the mechanics, and said, you know what looks pretty broken? Intimidate.
Yeah.
You
In
know what's
theory.
also big, green, and stompy?
Reinar.
So I built Reinar.
Very nice.
And then I got introduced to the Great Library of Solana.
Mm.
So this immediately tilted me off the face of the planet. I threw every possible yellow into my deck: yellow pummels, yellow swing fist thinklaters. And the next time Brian and I sat down, Reinar went to the library, and I proceeded to attack him 3 times every turn, pitching 2 yellows, triggering his own library. And he's like, that's never going to happen again. And I go, why? And he just takes the library and puts it in his deck box.
Understandable. Oh man.
So the second story that's up there is actually related to Riptide. This is the calling in Baltimore. We're going into the last round of day 1. Both myself and my friend Ben need to win this round to stay alive and make it to day 2. We get paired into each other. He's on Azuri, I'm on Riptide, and he sits down and he goes, hey buddy. I go, what's up, man? If I top 8 this event, Jimmy and Fino lose a bet. They're 2 of our locals. You know Fino, obviously. And I think it would be worth it. And I go, I don't know, man. I'm here on Riptide. Everybody's been talking trash. I got something to prove. And so we play our game, and I end up fatiguing him. What I didn't know was if he didn't make top 8, he had to do a really bad Reinar cosplay.
Oh.
That all of our locals had like kind of pitched in to buy, so they got like bad green face paint, like a black dreadlock wig, a Hulk t-shirt with like markered on abs on it, and he just had to walk around the rest of day 2 dressed up like this.
I feel like I saw this.
You absolutely did. We made sleeves of this. I'm gonna keep the sleeves to myself, but if you've seen the picture, you know.
Okay.
Because Ben's if Ben tunes into this, he's gonna give me so much crap for telling this story because he's like, man, come on, just gotta just let it go.
Well, it's on the internet forever now, Ben. Sorry to say, it's not dying anytime soon.
No, it is not.
But that's awesome. That's awesome. Calling Baltimore, Riptide's big coming out party. Not really, but
sort of.
It was a pretty good play into Lexi. So that was wow, so long ago.
Yeah, how many years ago was that now?
That was right after Outsiders. So yeah, I guess it's got to be like 2 years. Holy smokes. Time flies when you're playing Riptide. I tell you that. Now, before we get to Riptide, you're also known for a Talishar obsession, right? And I'm not talking about the fan-made client where we play and test the game, but I'm talking about the physical sword of Talishar. You have an obsession about it, and can you talk about Talishar Lexi?
Sure. Not what I was expecting to talk about today, but yeah, I will talk about Talishar Lexi. So, have I ever told you the origin story about the deck in the first place?
I don't think so. I've only played against it being piloted by somebody else.
Oh, yes. the Talishar Lexi Squire. So back in Cheerios Briar times, you remember that U.S. Nationals, that top 8?
Oh yeah,
where Isaac Jessen top 8'd on Lexi, like that Ice Lexi list with Voltaire.
Oh yeah, that was so exciting. Former guest of the show, Isaac Jessen, as we should say.
Also former host of another podcast,
a little one called the Attack Action Pod. Yeah, the longest running podcast in Flesh and Blood.
They like to claim it's America's podcast, but I don't know, man.
Listen,
gotta give them a run for their money at some point, right?
The jury's out, but I will say they do come on this podcast, so I get a little bit of the lion's share. But anyway, go ahead.
That's fair.
Isaac had that awesome finish.
Yep, and then he just had like that heartbreaking moment where he's looking for the arrows off 3 of a kind. He doesn't draw it, and just kind of proceeds to lose the game from there. And I went, this list looks so fun to play. I can't wait to put this together. So I'm in my house in Lemoore, just sifting through all the Tales of Aria Ball, because I bought something crazy, like 8 cases at the time, because I was full in on it. So I'm looking for all the arrows. I'm, do I have a Voltaire? Do I have the legendaries? I have this, I have that. And I finally put the deck together and I start playing the deck and I'm like, something feels off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like kind of solitaire in it. And I was like, I don't like having to pay an extra resource for every arrow I play.
Yeah.
Because what's printed on the card is not what it costs money-wise. So I'm not too keen on this. So I'm sitting at my table trying to figure out, how do I circumvent this problem? Is there a way that I can do it? And then I read Lexi's hero power and it says attack, not attack action on it. And I go, that's interesting. Can I actually cut back on some of the arrows then?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe just play like some more generic go again stuff, maybe some of the actual lightning cards. And then I stumble upon Icequake. Now I read Icequake and it also says attack. And I go, okay, all right, maybe we're cooking here. And then there just happened to be a random Talishar on my desk from like a pile of Crucible cards that I was looking through for some reason. And I sat there and went, does this work? And then I read Lexi and I go, oh, I could send this for 7 go again with a Frostbite on it. I've just built my own Winter's Well. This is sick. So I put it together in Blitz first because I thought that it was going to be better in Blitz than it was in CC, when it actually turned out to be the opposite because you need like more life to buffer when your deck's kind of bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So And then it kind of just kept developing from there. And over time, the deck got better and better. Now here we are, X amount of years later, Rosetta came out. I get to play Gone in a Flash combo in my Talishar Lexi deck with Ice Quakes and like random nonsense. It's like, okay. It's absolutely my favorite deck to play, even to this day. Even if it's not the best deck, and win or lose, I always have fun with it.
Yeah, it is really cool, and I will say, shout out to Ben from Gilded Raven, who whipped it out, and we played Blitz. I did win against it. I think I was playing Cash In Riptide Blitz. I was, hey, listen, I just wanted to draw cards. I'm pretty sure I was playing performance bonus in that deck too.
It's certainly a choice that you can make. Those are legal flesh and blood cards.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what I was playing at the time. But yeah, I was like, yeah, and I didn't know. So I sit down for the listeners. I sit down, I play against Ben, and whips out this Talishar Lexi. And I'm like, man, I've heard of a deck like this before. Have you ever heard of Jesse Harper? And he's like, yeah, this is his deck. I'm like, oh my God. And then I, had to like get in gamer mode so I could win. I was like, I can't be upstaged right now. Holy smokes. But shout out to Ben. Shout out to Talishar. It is a sword, and it is a weapon that any hero can play and aspire to play. Now, I have a feeling it might show up in your fresh faves, but we're going to get to your fresh faves right now.
Okay.
And you're going to answer them, whether you like it or not. First, Jesse, who's your favorite hero?
Ooh. I'm going to say Riptide because he's right there.
Well, he'll be upset.
But I think it's changed over the Fab career. So Viscerai was my favorite hero for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
Longest time. Even after Riptide came out, I could not decide between the two of them because I just liked their game plans throughout the history that I've been playing the game. And then Viscerai obviously got buffed into the moon, and then I was like, okay, all right, he's gone forever. So my favorite is Riptide.
Yeah, great answer for this podcast, I would say. Now, what's your favorite weapon?
Talishar, hands down, best weapon in the game.
It is good. It is good. It's almost like Romping Club, but worse.
Better?
Listen, better. I mean, it
better.
If you only want to swing a couple times, not too bad. Now,
how many times have you given your Romping Club go again, Tommy?
Okay. Not a lot, but it is more possible now. I haven't played a lot of Romping Clubs since Heavy Hitters with all the agility tokens, but I definitely got an extra action point off of Scabbies and attacked with a Romping Club in that same turn. But
that's fair.
I digress. What's your favorite equipment?
Favorite equipment. So I think this one is gonna have to go to an equipment that I fell in love with while playing Talishar Lexi specifically, which is Shock Charmers.
Ooh, yeah.
So I really like Shock Charmers in the sense that it lets you filter cards. It says the next time you hit, so a lot of people don't realize that it like carries over. So if you get full blocked down on the first thing and then you like Codex back and attack and hit them, it's like still there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very versatile. The only thing it doesn't do is block, but it's got Spell Void on it, so wizards cry every time you flip that plus another Spell Void piece, and it's been awesome. I love that card, and the art's gorgeous.
It is. That's a good answer. Might be the only Shock Charmers we've had as an answer. I'll have to look back.
Really?
I mean, I should probably have like a spreadsheet or something like that, but I was hoping somebody else would do it, but I don't think anybody has. So maybe I'll have to do the research one day. Now, what's your favorite card you throw into your deck?
So I knew this one was coming. This is the one that I was actually like thinking about while I was at work today. And As far as cards that get thrown into my deck, I always try to get rifting to work,
Oh,
even though I know it's bad, but I always want it to be good. Even to the point where I was like theorizing some crazy rifting gravy bone shenanigans.
Oh my god.
I was like, yeah, I punched them and then I play my ally at instant speed, right? And if it's the blue one, I trigger my hero power and I get to play one from my graveyard and give that one go again. I was cooking.
Yeah, I mean that is a form of cooking. Yeah, I love rifting too. You know, and then they just printed a better rifting in Lightning, and then that was like,
yeah.
I love that card too. I'm already forgetting it right now off the top of my head because
eclectic
magnetism.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
that card's so sweet. Just like that, I love cards like rifting, eclectic magnetism. It just gets your ideas like kind of rumbling and what you can do with it, which is pretty cool. Now, if you lived in the world of Wraith, what class and talent would you be?
I think I would have to say Ice Lightning Warrior.
That would be scary.
And the reason I say that is because, again, Talishar Lexi is my favorite deck to play, always. And I've always kind of said that if I had better armor, I think that deck would be unbeatable in certain formats. But that's like the major downside of the deck is your armor doesn't really block all that well, and so. Yeah. But I do like the play pattern of give my weapon go again and some really big buff and on hit, and then send 2 attacks at you. So
that makes sense to me. I mean, that combo is pretty deadly, as we've seen, and on a warrior would be. I mean, how many points of block do you think a lightning ice or a lightning warrior in general, like how many blocks would the boots get, right? Because we already see it in Fang, like you can technically get like 10 points of value off of the dynamos. So with lightning, even more. So pretty sweet. Now, what's your greatest set of all time?
Greatest set of all time. So I think this one could be looked at a couple different ways. I think I'm gonna try to break it down. I think greatest draft set of all time for me will still always be WTR. I know that's like everybody's kind of vanilla answer, but
it's great.
There is nothing quite like drafting Yellow Bell or Reinar and just asking people to figure out how to not die to your romping club. As far as favorite set, like aesthetically, I think Tales of Aria just knocked it out of the park. Like it was so different from everything else that Fab had at the time. And then something a little more recent, I think my favorite set might have actually been Heavy Hitters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this comes up every week, I feel like, on the pod, but that Constructive Format was, I thought,
with the exception of Cast Bones, that card has punched my teeth in more times than I care to admit.
Buzzsaw Trap, man, thought, come on.
Sure, yeah. But it was one of those things where it felt like we were getting back to where we were before, where the power level coming back up into the format. And it was like, oh, this was really nice. And then they just cranked it to 11 with Miss Veil, and I was like, oh no. So I liked Heavy Hitters in the sense that it was like reigniting that kind of passion and power level that we were all looking for.
Yeah. And hatchets were playable, which was awesome. And
yeah,
that
was a cool deck.
Yeah, that was a cool deck. Now, you mentioned Miss Veil. 2/3 of Miss Veil is gone as of this past weekend. Enigma and Zen have ascended into the living legend, annals of flesh and blood history. But also this weekend, Riptide picked up 2 wins, one of them being you.
Yep. Yes.
you won with the Green Man. Can you tell us about the list and what your thoughts about it were going into this weekend? Because, you know, we knew what the meta was. It was going to be Pro Tour London.
Yep. So my list was very much tailored to my local area. So I play in New England now. I'm no longer in California. And the New England meta has always kind of been very illusionist heavy. I think in Dromai's height, there was something crazy like 18 or 20 Dromais showed up in an RTN one time. And I was like, oh. So I knew that this being Enigma's last hurrah, that everybody was going to be playing Enigma, trying to get their name on the LL lists. In that same token, there's a bunch of people here that love playing Assassin for some reason. So I went, all right, most people here don't typically like playing Aurora or whatever the best aggro deck is. They like the ones that speak to them, or they feel they have more agency over games. So I just wanted to punish them for drawing 2 Chi and 2 D-Reacts, and I wanted to watch them turn their wheels and go, oh no, I'm in danger, as I'm attacking them with a 12 power battering bolt that can't be reacted to. So that was my thesis. it worked pretty well. I had a lot of success into Enigma in the week leading up to the event, success into Enigma at the event, and then New as well. Every time I caught them with Chi and D-Reacts, they just got punched in the mouth and couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was taking a look at your list. I'm actually going to bring it up now, and we'll post it if you're cool with that.
Yeah, it's fine. Linking it underneath the thing.
Yeah, link it in the old show notes here. I don't know why my mouse is going crazy, but oh wait, I don't know why it's doing this. But anyway, it's. I guess I would say kind of, well, I guess it leans more aggressive, but like can definitely go mid-range, right? From I haven't played with yet, but you know, you have some chunky stuff, right? You mentioned you play in the Murky Waters, you're playing the battering bolts in the sideboard. You also have some Battlefront Bastion for you know, some go wide decks. With a full suite, not a full suite, but a pretty decent suite of traps that are pretty good into this meta right now. How would you categorize this list?
So it's funny you asked me that question because I've been talking with some other Riptide players across the week, and I've come to the conclusion that we evaluate things very, very differently. Mm-hmm. They were calling my list more of a hybrid mid-range list, and I was like, that is not my intention. It's not what I thought I was playing. I thought I was playing more of a kill you in first cycle aggro / tempo oriented Riptide list. Like, I wanted to punish greedy deck building. I wanted to kill you before you got set up, and I wanted to make the first cycle of the game very, very hard for everyone. If you made it to second cycle, then there's probably a point where I could lose that, but generally games weren't going that long. So I thought I was more on the aggro side. But there are definitely some value turns you can play and some tricky stuff you can do. One of my favorite plays was E-Strike, putting the card on the bottom, Riptide triggers, load a Plan for the Worst face down in the arsenal, make them think that it's another arrow coming. Mm-hmm. So they either don't fully block out the E-Strike or they put a card in front. So you're still getting some chip damage, you're getting a card, and then you hit Plan for the Worst. You get to look at the rest of what they're holding, go get the trap for it, and then they just have to sit there and go, what do I do?
Yep. You know,
I just got juked on defense. I took extra damage to the face for no reason, and now my turn's in shambles.
And yeah, Plan for the Worst. First of all, one of the I think the coolest card that we have gotten. You know, Murky Water's pretty sick too, but like Plan for the Worst, there's just something about it. Your opponent has to read it like 3 times, and then they always miss the seek and destroy text, and you're just like, no, this is, I'll leave it out here so we know at the end of your turn, it's all going bye-bye. And more often than not, they're going to be, a lot of decks have a decent way to try to get rid of everything in their hand, but it just won't be super efficient. So, but that play is so sick. So, like, I definitely understand what you're saying. You know, when you say it, you see it more of as aggressive first cycle. You know, you're doing a lot of disruptive stuff too, you know, with a lot of damage. So I totally understand that. You're playing Plague Hive. Is that just for zest, or do you just really like that card?
I had an extra slot, and I was going back and forth on what I wanted to play in that extra slot. And when I had made the decision to actually keep Murky Waters in the list, because I was really thinking about just not playing them at all, but through testing and things like that, I found that the Murky Waters were really good into specific matchups where I wanted to get that recurring trap value, where Battering Bolt maybe didn't do as much because they didn't have as many non-action cards in their deck, but they were doing something where they were getting go again pretty consistently and attacking me 2 to 3 times, or just randomly being able to like Spike Pit trap them again because they're they have face up attack reactions in their equipment zone, things like that. And so it just became a 3-for-3 swap there. And then I was like, okay, well, now I need resources, and I'm looking at my 6 blues and I'm going, I don't think this is enough. And I look at the 3 yellow Bolton shots and my codexes, and I'm like, okay, so it's doable off of those, but I kind of want to be playing the codexes. So maybe I just need to take a page out of some of the Fang players that I know locally, where they're just like, you only need yellows, it's fine. And then, so I added the Plague Hive, because if I could randomly pitch a yellow and do 2 damage to my opponents, it's pretty good.
It does. I mean, and sometimes you can get even more value out of it with a good frailty. No, I love to see it. So another interesting thing, the 6 blues is, you know, about what I expected. You know, I really love Intoxicating Shot, but I could see why you wouldn't play it in this deck. I love that card so much, but I think we disagree about that card. But
this is something I will always disagree on.
Oh yeah. I've watched people sweat over that card attacking them so many times for me to never stop loving it. But you're playing sharpshooters on the arm slot. Yep. Makes sense with a couple aim counter stuff. Drill Shot gets some bonus. Falcon Wing, Murky Water. Is that it?
Infecting Shot is
Infecting
a big one.
Shot.
It's +1. It's got a name counter on it, and sometimes it's just enough to push that extra breakpoint.
Yeah, and Crown of Providence, which I'm almost always on, although I did play Skullcap this past weekend, and it worked out. Yeah. I mean,
nice.
I mean it's blocks 3. I was playing full control Riptide for those of you who don't know. I went 3-2, missed top 8, started off good, lost 2 games in a row, and then won the last one. But hey, we're not here to talk about how bad I am. We're here to talk about how good Jesse is. First of all, love Crown of Providence. I am a New Horizons hater in Riptide. I know it makes sense in some lists, but even then, I'm looking at people play Riptide with New Horizons, and they just have a face-up arrow, the same face-up arrow for like 5 turns, and then they have to block with New Horizons or something like that. There's just so much disruptive stuff, I feel like, that it's tough for me to reconcile that card. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think you and I are pretty aligned in our thoughts on this card. Crown of Providence automatically dodges your first CNC. And people are playing that card still, so Crown of Providence seems good. They say, oh, but you can just trench the trap away, and goes, yeah, but then it's like the CNC hit anyway. I'm still down a card.
Yeah,
I didn't get anything out of it. And then New Horizons also adds that weird part of the game where eventually you have to sit there and go, is my arsenal worth more or less than taking this particular on hit or taking this to life, depending on where you're at in the stage of the game. That's just not something I want to think about. The other side is you probably could have convinced me to play New Horizons before Assassin got all the tools that they have now.
Sure.
The issue I have now with New Horizons is it just feels like you're working so hard to defend those cards that it's almost just not worth it. Like if I'm giving you 2 cards to save my arsenal and then you do something to pump over the top anyway, like where like you shred me and take a card out of my arsenal. I mean, that was 3 cards and I took damage.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what was the point of saving all these cards for this potential pop-off turn? The other point is people's head slots got really strong recently.
Yeah.
Face Purgatory, Scowling Fleshbag, things like that. So I really don't want to be setting up for like this like wombo turn and my opponent show me Face Purgatory or Fleshbag and just to go,
yeah,
oh, right, I can't. So I like being able to have the utility to play around it and decide when I want to play into it to try to force the block for my opponent.
I cannot agree more. You know, it's just, I don't know. For me, equipment's for blocking. But listen, I'm not like a New Horizons hater. Just in Riptide, I'm a New Horizons hater because I've seen how powerful New Horizons can be.
I think we all did.
And I know how powerful it's about to be again, most likely with Marlin. So very interesting. Now, list is really cool, man. I love it. So you wanted to see, you know, people playing a lot of D-Reacts, cheese, stuff like that. Makes sense. You know, Assassin, you know, like the normal good Riptide matchups. Now, what did you want to avoid? And I think I know one deck in particular that we talked about earlier before we started recording that is really tough for Riptide.
Yeah, even with my version where I'm trying to prey on decks with a lot of D-Reacts in their deck, Florian is still, like, I didn't believe it at first, but I spent a few hours testing with my team here, and very quickly it was just like, oh, this just feels unwinnable for my list, and I don't think it gets any better for the lists that maybe go a little slower or have a higher resource curve, or even the fatigue one, because Florian will just beat you. A, you don't have a weapon, and B, they could stack rune chance. So
yeah,
Florian's tough. I did not want to see that deck. But the deck I think I actually didn't want to see the most was the Aurora, because it was so coin flippy that it really was determined by if I saw Collapsing Trap or Tar Pit Trap on sequences where those effects mattered. And things like Shelter from the Storm kind of helped during the Arc Lightning turns. But ultimately, my deck doesn't pack the same disruption that like the aim counter lists do. Yeah. So I don't really have the agency to say, hey, Aurora player 7, give me a card.
Yeah.
They're just gonna go, nah, you're an idiot. Here's 16 to 20.
Yeah. It's yeah, it swings the hammer swings back pretty hard on that. Now, what were your matchups on the day?
So round 1, I got paired into Enigma. Round 2 was Slippy. Round 3 was Azalea. Round 4 was New, and then round 5 was Enigma. And then top 8.
What was your record on in Swiss?
4-1 was the record in Swiss. I lost to the Azalea player.
Okay, that makes sense.
That matchup's also kind of tough, but again, it's kind of coin flippy. Where he had a couple sequences of bolt and shot turns where I'm like, Collapsing Trap, Buzzsaw Trap, Tar Pit Trap, any trap, please let me find a trap, and I can't. And so I couldn't stop the turns, so he just kind of got to do what he wanted. And then top 8 was Syndra, New, into Enigma again.
Worked out. I mean, those are 3 good matches to play in top 8.
Yep.
Surprised the Syndra was there.
I was also surprised the Syndra was there. I was like, I didn't realize anybody was still playing this deck.
Yeah, well, listen. It is fast.
Yeah. But it goes a lot slower when there's like frailties and collapsing traps and tar pit traps to stop your mask triggers. And...
Yeah. But hey, listen, that's awesome. Congratulations on the win. You're putting.
Thank you.
You're giving Riptide a good name out there. Now, things are about to change big time in the meta in general. As I mentioned, Enigma and Zen are gone. I don't know if Zen leaving is really changing much at this point. We still have a bunch of aggro decks, but Enigma leaving definitely switches things up, right? I think Guardian starts to feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot bit better. Oh, we will see.
Probably a lot of it better.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess like from 0 to anywhere is probably substantially better. So what should we be afraid of, us Riptide players, in this new meta without Enigma and Zen? And what is the best case scenario for us as well?
Best case scenario is everybody says, I want to play New, so that Guardians don't get to exist anymore, and then they just figure out how to beat Aurora and Florian consistently, so we can come in and beat up all the new players and the stubborn Aurora players.
Yeah.
Decks we don't want to see are Jarl, Florian, like Full Fatigue, Guardian in general. Victor can get kind of tough. I know for a while I was pretty doomed on that matchup. Just because when they get to block your thing, draw another card, and then block your thing again, it's like, okay, all right. With Enigma leaving the format and kind of being the linchpin of what's going on right now, I am actually looking to change my list, so I'm not actually running back the same 80 this weekend. I am going to another ProQuest, and I am bringing Riptide, but I'm looking this time around to target the Auroras and to target the Assassins.
Yeah, it should be kind of interesting. I'm interested to see what that list looks like. I don't know if you're done with it yet, but I'm gonna definitely ask you for
no.
what it looks like. But yeah, I think Florian is so brutal, right? And Jarl can be pretty rough. Victor, I think there are some Riptide lists that can definitely, go the distance against some of the Guardians. I've had success with the control Riptide that you can surprise them. They think they're kind of going one way and going the other. I mean, unless they're on Sledge, but Sledge is brutal.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But if they forget to bring it or they don't pack it, it's a different story. But I am interested to see where it goes. Florian is my biggest concern right now. You mentioned earlier, you played a couple hours of that matchup and didn't really get anywhere. I'm not getting anywhere with it. It's kind of doomed, it feels like. So, but any final thoughts on Riptide before we get to some listener questions or even some high C speculation?
Sure. I got a thought about both. I will say that a lot of people are probably going to look to Riptide to be like home, or like this is really powerful deck. And to be honest, even Riptide's my favorite hero. Even as that, I still have to know when to put the green man down and when to understand that this is not a meta for him. As the meta gets wider and more things become available, it's a lot harder for Riptide.
Yeah.
He prefers metas that coalesce at the top, so that he can specifically build in ways to target the decks he's going to see the most of, and then maybe have a couple tech pieces for whatever the third most popular matchup is. Not saying don't play him, but if you have issues, just understand that Riptide will forever and always be one of those X2 decks where just due to deck construction and the different things you have to put in your deck, you will lose 2 rounds pretty much out of every calling you play.
Yeah. Yeah. And high seas is, well, maybe everything's fixed in high seas, right? It's gotta be.
So high seas, my speculation or my hot take for high seas is actually that we're all being trolled by James White and LSS into trying to buy into Gravy Bones, and that Puffin is actually the best hero out of this set.
I mean, it would make sense to me, to be honest. I mean, we've seen we already have really good crank cards, so like, I can't see why Puffin wouldn't be good. I imagine Gravy Bones. I mean, Gravy Bones is really cool. We'll take probably another set of Necromancer support, probably, before we see it. Like, maybe it's we'll see. Or it could be just like busted out the gates. We'll see. Marlin looks to be good, right? You know, at this point, any deck that can play Codex of Frailty, I feel like is always in the running to be decent in some way or another. So, and she looks to be able to do that and also do crazy stuff with 3 of a kind, which is a card we haven't seen played in a hot minute. Now, we do have listener questions.
Sure.
From the Buds Discord, where anybody can join. It's a great place to hang out. First one comes from William Knuckles from the Table Pit. Did you have a Talishar in your sideboard when you won the Pro Quest?
No, I did not. I did think about it. Like I said, I did have that one slot that I was playing around with, and I had ultimately told myself if I couldn't figure out what I was going to put there, it was going to be a Talishar. So on the off chance that I won, there was going to be a Talishar in the deck list. So that if anybody went to look at it and went, "What is this here for?" and then people are gonna have some assumptions about what matchups I'm playing it in, and they're gonna play it, and they're gonna go, "Wait, I can't play this. I have arrows in my deck.
Yeah.
Why is this here?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's that would be hilarious. Next question comes from the legendary Capolo, who asks, "What does Teclo Daddy need to be good?"
Ooh. So I saw this question, and I think it's something more proactive to do in the early to mid game areas. So the thing about Tecla, like I thought that hero was really cool when I first saw Spoiled. I liked the idea of building up instead of the typical FAP curve of getting weaker as the game progresses, but instead getting stronger as the game progresses. The issue is a lot of times I see Tecla players and they just block until they die.
Mm-hmm.
Or they like finally put the suit on and they can't kill you. And it's like I really feel like they want something else, something a little more powerful to do in the early to mid stages of the game, other than just like try to get the suit on. And I don't think it's boost. Like I've seen some of the boost Tecla lists, and it feels pretty bad when you boost your one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know what that card would look like, but I just want something more proactive that my opponents have to respect, where they can't just keep punching me in the face as I'm trying to put on the mech suit.
Yeah. It's like weird. It seems like the only thing you can do is like the super defensive thing. Yeah, I wanted Scrap to be more of a prevalent mechanic. It's so cool, right? Like it just like, let's scrap something. Let's get a nice benefit. But until we see more of that, I feel like it just doesn't make as much sense. Now, the next question comes from Nathaniel from Bold Brew Games. And he asks, what makes a good ranger for your style? And what class and talent combination do you want in the future? Bonus points if either one don't exist yet.
I would like to see a ranger that plays a little more like a survival hunter from World of Warcraft.
Okay.
So, for those who are unfamiliar, is hunter is basically ranger. You shoot bows, and some of them have animal companions and things like that. Survival hunter is the only melee specialization. in the hunter class,
Mm.
where you're like throwing your spear, jumping into combat, throwing bombs at people, and you still have a pet that like comes in and buffs your abilities and gives you some added benefits depending on which one. That class has always spoken to me in WoW, and I would love to see a ranger do something that isn't just shoot arrows all the time. Like, don't get me wrong, some of these arrows are busted.
Yeah.
They're really strong. But I just want to see something a little more. Like we see in hero art all the time. They've got like belts and pouches and satchels and daggers and knives and things like that. Just give me a ranger that does something else. Something cool.
And doesn't look like it's going to be Marlin.
I mean, the cannons are neat.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
They're still arrows. They're still arrows at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then as far as class and talent combination I want in the future, I want to make everybody sad with this one and I cry out in agony. I want Ice Runeblade.
Oh God. They'll create a new kind of rune chant that's also a frostbite, and I can already
the collective wails of the Fab community.
Holy smokes. That's a good answer. Next question comes from Bagels. Do you think it's good for Fab that Riptide isn't the best deck, or do you think Riptide mirrors are interesting and skillful to play?
So I think it is 100% good that Riptide is not the best deck.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody wants to live in the world where Riptide is the best deck, where there's just not a whole lot you can do. You're getting punched in the face on offense, and then you're getting like one card 6, 7, 8 on defense, depending on what the trap is. And there's a point in the game where just from double-digit life, you can just die to a random trap. Like it's happened to Bolton players. It's happened to new players. Like in testing, one of my teammates was playing CYB new. He played a Siren's Call. I played my Spike Pit trap. I hit his last CYB and he died from 7.
Oh, that's awesome though.
Like, yeah, it's super cool, but no one wants to live in the world where that is happening to you every round.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think realistically, it can't. The deck. It's so easy to target. It just couldn't ever be the best deck.
Well, then, like I said, it's an X2 deck, right? Like it falls in the same category as Azalea, Levia, Vincent, all these decks that just due to their deck construction will lose at least 2 games over 15 rounds. Mm-hmm. When those rounds happen, who knows? If you get lucky, it'll happen not when you're in top 8. You know. And as far as Riptide mirrors go, Riptide mirrors are honestly awful. So the only time Riptide mirrors I think are good is when you have the gentleman's agreement to not play Dreadbore into each other.
Yeah. Well,
but that never happens.
I will say I learned a lot last, I think it was RTN season, where I was playing Control Riptide and I ran into the one other person in the room that was also playing Control Riptide. And I learned a lot about that matchup because I just saw him discarding his traps to frail or to codexes. And then I was like, oh, I needed to start doing that because the traps don't do anything. Because
you need to get the traps either into your arsenal or out of your deck.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just like, oh, maybe I'll get. And then I learned that I do think it can be really interesting. I just played actually today a match against like Dreadbore, New Horizons, Azalea. That was miserable. I will say, but. Good on them. Good on them to be playing that. So, yeah, now, pretty interesting. Now we have one more question. It's about one of my favorite cards right now. Sigma asks, do you have a favorite chain reaction play? And is chain reaction a card that is hinting at something, i.e. archetype or new cards in the future?
I want to say that chain reaction. I'm going to answer the second one first. So I want to say that yes, chain reaction is hinting at a certain playstyle or a certain archetype in the future. I cannot speak to what that is. I am not nearly smart enough to figure out the machinations of James White and whatever he does when he goes into that little room and locks himself away from the world, you know? So, favorite chain reaction play? To be honest with you, I have not played this card a lot. Even though the effect is seemingly so powerful, it just hasn't really spoken to me as far as what matchups I wanted in, what am I trying to do with it, what's the most powerful thing I can do with it. But I do think that anytime you get to play one of the codexes off a chain reaction on your opponent's turn is like pretty sweet. I think specifically I like the inertia one.
Yeah, it can be good. Yeah, that one can be the most disruptive. Yeah,
that's just pot of greed. I love instant speed pot of greed.
Yeah, pot of greed's good. I mean, so I've been playing a lot of chain reactions since it came out. Plan for the worst, I think obviously one of the best things you could do. You can like win like automatically off that sometimes, which is pretty sweet. Fix your hand too if you're like, I don't want some of these cards in my hand. And
gets intoxicating shot out of my deck.
Yeah, no. I'm still I have to set up the chain reaction with my intoxicating shot. Thank you very much. And listen, I'm going to throw Coax Commotion in there too. Give him a quick in again with something else. And, we're going to have a great time.
So quick.
But
so quick.
Yeah, they're going to be the quickest opponent ever. So, yeah, I would have to say plan for the worst. Codex of Blood Rot's like the safest codex to do. Codex of Frailty can be awkward, I feel like, at times. And same with Inertia if you don't set it up correctly. But I just want something else, right? Something cooler. You can do like Truce, which is kind of neat, but it costs resources, which is not neat. So kind of interesting. It's not great. You can do Warmongers at instant speed. That doesn't really do much.
I wonder if the intended design space for that card is actually to play those the Ranger auras that we have access to. You know what I'm talking about? There's like a couple of them that are like blessing of whatever, and it's like opt 3, do a thing to your arrow. Yeah. I wonder if maybe there's something like that coming down the pipeline where it's like this effect is very powerful, but how are we playing it?
Yeah, it could be that, or like it honestly could be just for like combo Riptide, right? You get to like start sending out your items at instant speed on your opponent's turn, and while you're still being defensive, and then you set up the big time snap potion, energy pot, and
knick-knack bric-a-brac. Someone get Tarek on the phone. Let's do it. Where is he?
And you play your tri-shots with your Death Dealer, and then you just win. And I guess maybe that's it. Gotta get knick-knack bric-a-brac in there, maybe some other Everfest items. Who knows? But chain reaction, sweet card. Hopefully we get something in high seas. But that is gonna do it for the show this week. Jesse, you've been a blast to hang out with. Obviously, we've been buddies for quite some time now. I don't know if you want to plug anything. I know you don't really do much content or anything like that, but if you want to plug anything, fire away.
Nope. You can find me at the Orc Night on Blue Sky X Discord. The only things I really want to plug is I want to say a thank you to Alex, Brian, Justin, and Ron over at Command Zone Games and Hobbies and all their local players in Hanford, California, because without them, I wouldn't even be sitting here. Mm-hmm. I'd also like to shout out my team, Salt the Wound. I wouldn't have won the ProQuest without their help and without testing and everything else. So big shout out to them. And then just a big shout out to the New England community as a whole. We got Runaways, we got Team Sigil members. We got some really good players here, and they are what makes the game so much fun for me at this moment.
Awesome. So. And you guys are getting AGE stuff out there too.
Yeah, the AGE stuff's been a blast too.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. You all can continue to find me everywhere at freshbudspod, mostly on Blue Sky these days. Check out the YouTube if you don't subscribe yet. Give it the old like, comment, subscribe. Discord. Buzz Discord is a great place to hang out and relax and chill and talk about Flesh and Blood. And then I have another podcast I do with my cousin where we talk about indie video games called Fresh Juice. All of that's in the show notes below. And finally, Orc Knight, Jesse Harper. I like to talk about food before the end of every show. Hit me with some food that you want to talk about.
Oh man. Pizza outside of New England is awful.
Whoa. Holy smokes. I mean, that is the worst take I've ever heard.
Hey, man.
Listen.
I've been all over the world at this point. Really, like with my active duty career, with Fab, everything else, and there's something about the way New England does pizza and the way they do their sauce and everything else that is just special.
Well, listen. Maybe when are you coming to Worlds?
Yeah, obviously.
I might have to open your eyes on some stuff. Maybe.
I'll have to. You're more than welcome to try, brother.
I'll be in New England twice in the next 2 months, so maybe I'll grab a slice and see what you're talking about. But I don't know. Actually, no, I'll be in New England 3 times in the next 3 months.
Oh boy, I get 3 times to be well.
Well, actually, do you count Connecticut? That's more the tri-state area.
Connecticut is a part of New England. So most people don't know where New England ends. Connecticut is a part of it, despite our best efforts.
Yeah. Well, nobody wants them. We don't want them. Unfortunately, the Connecticut of guests on this show is Charmer, and we just can't get to him this week. But maybe we'll drive through one day and hopefully quickly. Goodbye, everybody, and please stay fresh.